Joshua Youngblood said earlier this week, or maybe it was last week, that his goals for the season were 1,000 yards rushing, 1,000 yards receiving, 1,000 yards as a return man. Watching him every day, is that how unrealistic or realistic is that expectation?
I think it's as realistic as he makes it in terms of his work ethic and his ability. He has obviously more than enough athletic ability to do some special things for us. I personally didn't see that goal. Some folks had told me about it, and I think it's great. You know, if you have to set a goal for yourself and a standard for yourself, and he's been that type of young man for us, even in recruitment. He sets a high standard and a high bar, and now it's really, I guess, our organization, myself, and how we kind of do things here under Coach Kleiman is just to get him to understand the process to obtain whatever goals you set for yourself. So that's something that we emphasize. Set goals for yourself. He's one kid that has always done that his entire life, and that's how he's brought up. So I think in terms of his work ethic and his abilities, you pair those things together, you have a perfect storm. There's no telling what will happen. So at the end of the day, I think that it was good that he at least has goals in mind and has that type of mindset and has had that mindset. But that's his prerogative, and I believe that he goes out in that field and operates as is. There's no telling what could happen.
I also wanted to ask you about Malik. Just based on the roster, it looks like he added some size this offseason. Is he playing at all different with that size right now?
He is. He looks good. He looks, he's always been a fluid athlete. He looks really good. I think even during the time that we were off and there was shelter in place and things such as that, and all our guys were at their prospective homes, he put in the work. And that was something that we emphasized to the entire team, that while not being in Manhattan, you can still find ways to better yourself physically and mentally. And he is one that he looks different. I think he knows that he has some room to grow, both physically and mentally, and in terms of learning our offense and our system. So he looks good. I mean, he's always been fluid, like I said, and I think he's moving well, and just continue to stay healthy and continue to move forward.
D. Scott.
Yeah. Hey, Jason. Hey, how can Malik take that next step?
The next step for him, I think a lot of it is going to deal with confidence. He is a confident kid. I think, he was banged up a little bit last season. He's healthy. Like I said, I think he's put on some weight, some really good weight. His mobility is fine. He looks good. Now it's just he's made some actual plays out there that you would say those next level type plays in terms of taking his game here to the next level. And just to be consistent. So between consistency and confidence, I think those are the two things that would aid him in taking steps to making himself a more dominant player.
I've heard some good things about Sebastian Taylor over the course of preseason ball. Tell me about him.
Sebastian's always been one that has worked very hard. His pregame workout is one that I think a lot of really good athletes in whatever sport they have a routine. Is not just one that looks like fluff and just doing things for no reason. He kind of puts himself in a state of mind in pregame in the weight room and does some things, and from a stretching and mobility, he takes care of his body. When we have off days, he's talking about going to go get a massage and things like that. So he's really taking care of himself that way. He's always been a physical, gifted athlete, in terms of his height and size and weight. But he's gained a lot of confidence, and that has been the plus with him. And as he continues to get more confident, I think he'll continue to have success and get better.
Would he be one of your biggest movers and shakers on the depth chart this year?
Yeah, I mean, he played last year. He was in a backup role primarily when we had guys nicked up. I think he may have started a game or two. I can't remember. He's been in the rotation, pretty fluid. Whether we get to some of his package things or not from last season, we're just kind of not necessarily luck of the draw, but just how the game flowed last year. But he's one that we have always as offense and as a staff had said, he from special teams to being a guy in a normal rotation, he's definitely in that mix and has been in that mix. And a lot of his things last year were kind of game flow things, But he made a few plays that were kind of under the radar, big plays for us in terms of some third down and fourth down conversions, big touchdowns here, there, some chunk plays, some scramble drill plays. So he quietly has done some things for us that I think I'm excited to see what he continues to build upon this season.
Derek?
Coach, what do you lose with Dalton Schoen not on the roster anymore, and how do you replace it, or who do you replace him with?
What you lose with Dalton is leadership and experience, just naturally. The experience thing is more of a natural thing in terms of his leadership qualities. That's something that he had stepped into a role. Obviously, everyone knows his background and his story and the things he's done for Kansas State football. You lose those two things primarily initially. You would say without us having a spring ball, you didn't have that opportunity to see who was going to step into a leadership role in terms of the spring and who was going to fill some of those voids that a senior leader with the experience that Dalton had would have in the spring. But who fills that role? I don't know. There's not going to be a kid that you would say he's the next Dalton Schoen. I think these guys, the receiver room, there are a lot of really good, unique talents in the room. And I think I'm excited to see which guys continue to, build the tradition that we want here as K-State receivers have been. But I think the offseason when we kind of got back here, they were a group, the position group at wideout was one that was being praised quite a bit, just their work ethic and just how they were working and competing. So I think overall the competition level in that room is high, and those guys have really worked hard this offseason to make it one that they're holding a standard. So.
Got time for one more. Ryan Black.
Hey, Jason, how's it going?
Good. How are you doing?
Doing well. So, Keenan Garber, when you guys got him, he was a big time player in the state when you guys signed him. What's the sense that he can work into the rotation this year after redshirting last year?
Well, I think anything's up for grabs. Like I said, I think with spring ball, obviously not having a spring to evaluate, a spring evaluation, right now we're still in evaluation mode, but we've always said we evaluate everything. We were evaluating things while they were home and doing things like daily check-ins and, just from a mental health standpoint, and where guys showing up to their Zoom meetings. And so that was the standard that we had in terms of just sample size of what are we evaluating when they're not on campus? How can we make evaluations? Whether it was a Zoom meeting and we're giving out quizzes about formation. So the mental side with Keenan is something that he and I have had conversations about, just continue to grow mentally, learning the system. And we get plenty of reps, double rep. And so there's a lot of film, even to this day, that we've had to evaluate after 10 days of practice or whatever it's been. So like I said, everything's wide open in my eyes. And I think that as he continues to compete and grow, he'll have opportunities. There's plenty of opportunities for evaluation for him. And now it's just a matter of him taking the bull by the horns and continue to get better.
And then you guys signed one receiver in this last class. That was Jalen Travis. Has he been impressive so far? What have you thought about him since he got to campus and been able to get with you guys?
I think he's been good. Obviously these circumstances aren't normal for anybody right now. And in particular, a kid that true freshman that just shows up to college. This is not necessarily what anyone would have signed up for your first, semester in school, but he has really good skill set. I got a chance to see him play a couple times and obviously haven't evaluated his film. And so what he's done movement wise on the field is what we saw on tape and then what we saw live. And I'm excited for him. He's got to get stronger. He's got to, build more muscle and he will. I mean, he's a true freshman, but he's a very good prospect for us, a very good signee. And I think that he's going to have a good future here and just continue to learn and get better.